Your math ain't mathing. And the proof is not the platform, it is the split mind. The argument always starts with the easy number, because ego loves easy numbers. So throw out $180 a month and watch the pile of dogs sprint to the bone. They will yelp at the statistic and miss the mechanism. Because the real issue is not whether the number is exactly right. It is why the pattern keeps reproducing across every platform. OnlyFans, TikTok, Instagram, YouTube, Etsy, Amazon, coaching, courses, newsletters, podcasts, funnels, even personal brands. Different day, same creator. The content changes, the hunger does not. The hunger is always for distribution, not creativity. That is why the creator says, "I have a content problem," when the problem is that nobody is being reached consistently. A homicide detective does not walk into a case and guess. A homicide detective reconstructs the scene, interviews the witnesses, and follows the motive. Marketing is motive. Distribution is the crime scene tape. And churn is the body quietly disappearing while everybody argues about the weapon. Churn is the slow leak that happens when the newness wears off and the audience moves on without a goodbye. It is the silent moment where a subscriber looks at a feed, feels nothing, and closes the app. No hate, no drama, no big betrayal, just vanishing. That vanishing is why the math stops mathing. Because the creator keeps calculating income as if attention is permanent. Attention is not permanent. Attention is rented by the minute. So the platform sells the creator a fantasy. Upload more, try harder, hustle louder. But hustle is not a distribution plan. Hustle is what happens when the plan is missing. This is why the Super Bowl is not a football story. It is a distribution story. Brands spend millions for seconds, not because they need new content, but because they need to be remembered. They are paying for mass synchronized eyeballs. They are paying to be top of mind before the next buying moment arrives. And they do it again and again, year after year, because memory decays. Creators forget that memory decays. Creators act like one viral hit is a pension. It is not. It is a spark. A spark without a system is just a brief light in an empty room. Netflix understands this with almost insulting clarity. Every week it sends the same kind of message. Here's what's coming soon. It gives dates. It gives trailers. It gives a button that says, "Remind me," because it refuses to rely on willpower. Netflix does not wait for interest to spontaneously return. It manufactures recall. It builds a predictable ritual of anticipation. It is not romantic. It is not artistic. It is operational love for attention. Not love in the sentimental sense, love in the sense of faithful follow-up. That is the opposite of creator desperation. Desperation is posting and praying. Netflix is posting and scheduling. Now bring that same lens to OnlyFans. OnlyFans is not magic. OnlyFans is a payment rail with a discoverability illusion. It is a mall that charges rent. It takes a cut because it owns the checkout counter. And creators accept the cut because most creators do not own distribution. If distribution were owned, the platform would be optional. When distribution is not owned, the platform becomes God. And that is why people talk like OnlyFans saved them or ruined them. That is theology. It is worship or blame. It is giving a symbol the power of cause. The war over OnlyFans debate is the same split mind on television. The audience can even vote on it, and the vote itself becomes a confession. Because if the math were mathing, there would be no war. There would be no need to defend. There would be no need to justify.
there would be no need for a hidden face, a blurred identity, a voice behind a veil. That hidden face matters because it tells the truth without saying a word. If the game were clean in the mind would not need camouflage. A person can be proud of a craft and still protect privacy. But when the central story is, "This is good, and I know it's good," the nervous system does not usually flinch at being seen. Hiding is a signal of inner dissonance. And dissonance is expensive. It costs peace. It costs sleep. It costs trust in one's own choices.
So even when the money is high, the total ledger is often negative. This is where the creator math gets exposed. The creator counts dollars and ignores the tax of divided thinking. I'm doing this for my kids, but I don't know if this is right. This is empowering, but I feel shame. This is freedom, but I feel trapped. This is temporary, but I can't stop. This is my choice, but I resent what it demands. That is not a business model, that is a psychological mortgage, and every month the interest compounds. The Francis interview makes the mechanism clearer. He describes a level of production that most people never imagine when they hear creator. He talks about standards, schedules, and volume. He talks about building a catalog, building a vault, building predictable output. He talks about the machine behind the page. He even names the frequency. If a creator is making 1 million plus, that creator is not posting a couple things a week. That creator is producing at the level of an actual studio. That is not judgment. That is simply the cost of attention at scale. And it is why the median outcome remains low. Because most people do not join the platform with a studio, a system, and a distribution engine. Most people join with hope and a ring light. Here is the mountain metaphor. Imagine a sheer wall of rock that has killed experienced climbers. Now imagine someone says, "All you need is climbing gear and you can climb it." So thousands buy shoes, ropes, chalk, carabiners, and confidence. They fall, scrape, recover, and blame themselves. They say they need better shoes. They say they need a better rope. They say they need to want it more. But wanting is not skill, and effort is not strategy. Meanwhile, a climber who has scaled many faces arrives and climbs differently. Not because the mountain is kinder to him, but because his map is real. The others do not fail because they are lazy. They fail because they do not know what they do not know. That is why their math does not math. They are playing a distribution game with content-only tools. Now zoom out to the 183 course spreadsheet. That spreadsheet is not evidence of laziness. That spreadsheet is evidence of hunger, sincerity, and exhaustion. It is a mind trying to buy certainty in fragments. Login here, password there, guru here, framework there. 1,000 keys to 1,000 doors, and none of them open peace. The tragedy is not the courses. The tragedy is believing the courses were for becoming successful in the dream. Because the dream is a moving target. Every time a technique works, the market shifts. Every time a platform rewards a behavior, it later punishes the same behavior. Truth does not do that. Only illusion does that. This is where A Course in Miracles turns the knife, gently. I see only the perishable is not spiritual poetry, it is a marketing audit of the ego. Because the ego's entire business model is selling perishable meaning, perishable validation, perishable applause, perishable identity, perishable money, perishable bodies, perishable platforms. And then it demands that all of it last. That demand is the root of anxiety. Because the mind is asking a temporary thing to behave like eternity. So the article is not anti-OnlyFans, it is anti-cause confusion. OnlyFans is an effect. Netflix is an effect. The algorithm is an effect. the income graph is an effect. The real cause is the decision about where value is located. If value is located in the world's response, the mind is enslaved to response. If value is located in love, the mind becomes free to use response without worshipping it. That is why, when you only want to see love, that is all you will see, is not sentimental. It is a functional instruction. It means the mind stops bargaining with outcomes as proof of worth. Now the punchline, in plain language. The creator economy is not designed to make most creators rich. It is designed to harvest attention and skim a little from many. That is why the platform statistics always look like a pyramid. A few winners at the top, a large base at the bottom, and a constant stream of new hopefuls replacing the ones who burned out. That replacement stream is the business model. And the replacement stream is fed by stories. Curated stories, unverified claims, numbers that cannot be audited, screenshots without context, a fantasy of "I made it so you can too," with no mention of the studio behind the curtain. So yes, the math ain't mathing. Not because people are stupid, not because people are lazy, not because people do not want it badly enough, but because the game they think they are playing is not the game being played. They think they are creating content. They are actually bidding for attention inside a machine that profits from their bidding. And now the clean exit line. The evidence matters because it shows what was never wrong, the willingness. What dropped away was not ambition. It was the belief that peace comes from winning the platform. The courses did not fail. They served their purpose, which was to show what fragments cannot do. And when the mind began to study something deeper, the fragments fell away without a fight. Less meant less. Not as a moral improvement, but as a natural simplification. That is why the final correction is not try harder. The correction is see the system, see churn, see distribution, see the cost of divided thinking, see the platform as a tool, not a god, and then, quietly, decide what is actually being sought. Because if what is being sought is love, the search stops outsourcing itself to numbers. And if what is being sought is peace, the math finally starts to math, even before the money changes.
Submitted for your approval.
A man sits alone at a long table, staring into numbers that promise certainty and deliver restlessness. He has done everything he was told to do. He worked harder. He produced more. He chased the formula with the faith of a true believer. And still something refuses to balance. Because this was never a story about effort. It was a story about illusion. In a world that measures worth in clicks, views, and monthly totals, the arithmetic looks clean on paper, but collapses in the mind. What disappears is not money, but peace. What erodes is not opportunity, but meaning. And what churns endlessly is not an algorithm, but a hunger that cannot be fed by form. The platform did not betray him. The system did not fail him. They only did what all illusions do: promise permanence where none can exist. The real miscalculation was never financial. It was believing that something temporary could be asked to last. And so the final balance sheet is quietly adjusted, not in dollars, but in awareness. A reminder from a familiar corner of existence. You may close the spreadsheet, step away from the stage, and leave the math behind. Because the only numbers that never lie are the ones that were never meant to be counted. In the Twilight Zone.